No, never! I'm on Team Krabs for life.
Even though it's skipping theaters and going straight to streaming, we couldn't be more excited about the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run. Our animated friends might look a little bit different thanks to stylized CGI, but many of our favorite voice actors will be reprising their roles from the show. We'll fill you in on who's who, including all new characters, and where you might have heard certain stars before. Snoop Dogg. There's fast cars, flashbacks, Snoop Dogg. Obviously, having Snoop Dogg join the cast of Sponge on the Run is exciting. But which denizen of Bikini Bottom will this legendary performer be lending his voice to? Well, rather than using his iconic voice on an animated character, it seems as though Snoop Dogg will be making a cameo as himself. Really, Snoop is such an inimitable star that it makes sense he's portraying himself. In this movie, we'll see him laying real low all the way at the bottom of the sea. Keanu Reeves. Since Keanu Reeves is constantly adding entries to his IMDb page, it's not a total surprise that he's one of the many voice actors in Sponge on the Run. But that doesn't mean we're any less excited to see him, especially since we have fond memories of his semi-autobiographical role as Duke Kaboom in Toy Story. Duke Kaboom, Canada's greatest stuntman. Oh yeah. Okay, so he's not the greatest stuntman, but he is a Canadian motorcycle enthusiast. In SpongeBob on the Run, he'll be challenging his sage wisdom by playing a piece of sage.
Call me Sage. Good name. I'm made out of sage and I am a sage.
So it works out pretty well. SpongeBob and Patrick will undoubtedly need some help tracking down Gary, and it looks like Keanu will be there to help guide them on their quest. Awkwafina. Most of us probably know Awkwafina thanks to her musical career, but this green tea singer also has an impressive acting career. My parents did not name me Awkwafina. Yes, she was in the hit film Crazy Rich Asians, as well as Jumanji, The Next Level, and Ocean's 8, just to name a few. Now Awkwafina will be lending her voice to Sponge on the Run in an undisclosed role. We'll just have to wait and see if we can recognize her voice out of a presumably new character. Reggie Watts. Another Sponge on the Run voice actor in an undisclosed role is the multi-talented self-described disinformationist Reggie Watts. And the important thing to remember is that this simulation is a good one. In addition to his comedy and musical careers, he also lent his voice to Pastry Pete on Tuca and Birdie.
Stay in there. Really breathe it in.
And Asif on My Entire High School Sinking into the Sea. Do you think you'll be able to recognize his voice when you hear it in Sponge on the Run? Matt Berry. Matt Berry isn't a regular cast member on Spongebob Squarepants, but this isn't the first time dipping his toes into the franchise. He also provided the voice for Bubbles, the dolphin, in Sponge Out of Water.
Would you mind keeping an eye on things?
But this time, he'll be playing the prestigious role of King Poseidon, a character we don't know much about yet. We've seen King Neptune on the show, and as you mythology fans may know, Neptune is the Roman god of the sea, while Poseidon is the Greek counterpart. It'll be interesting to see what exactly these two characters have in common. Jack GORE. SpongeBob did promise us flashbacks in the Super Bowl commercial for Sponge on the Run, so it's not totally surprising that we're going to see younger versions of some of our favorite characters. Young Patrick Starr will be played by Jack GORE, who's known for his work as Timmy Cleary on ABC's The Kids Are All Right. Sing a song, let the world sing along. Tom McGrath. If you're a fan of the Madagascar movies, then you might recognize the voice of Tom McGrath.
If you watch this, you may explode with excitement!
He played the part of Skipper, the mischievous penguin, and co-directed the films. And now he's going to be part of Sponge on the Run, as the appropriately named Lightbulb Bopt. He may look like a pile of parts, but he acts as SpongeBob's boat driver, which is probably for the best considering SpongeBob's driving skills. He could have invested in a robot earlier and saved poor Mrs. Puff a ton of trouble. Stop, I'm going to lose my teacher's license. Tom Kenny. If you're a fan of SpongeBob Squarepants, then you've probably heard of the legendary voice actor, Tom Kenny. I'm known for doing SpongeBob Squarepants, his snail Gary, and the narrator who says 2 hours later.
2 hours later.
He's been working as our favorite sea sponge since day one. In addition to some other high-profile gigs, Tom is the voice of the Ice King from Adventure Time, the narrator and mayor from the Powerpuff Girls, and the dog and cat dog. According to Tom, his first big break was as Heifer on Rocko's Modern Life, which is how he met Steven Hillenburg, who would go on to create SpongeBob Squarepants. Apparently, once Steven heard Tom's voice, he knew he'd found his SpongeBob, as well as his pet snail, the narrator. It just wouldn't be a SpongeBob movie without Tom Kenny. Jason MAYBAUM. We know it's hard to imagine, but Squidward Tentacles wasn't born a grumpy adult. There Was a Time When He Was a Child, and actor Jason MAYBAUM will be providing the voice for young Squidward in Sponge on the Run. You might have seen him as Levi on the show's Raven's Home.
No, I'm not. I'm a model student, aren't you, Ray?
Antonio Raul Corbo. And let's round out our look at younger versions of our favorite SpongeBob characters by talking about young Spongebob Squarepants himself. Steven Hillenburg has joked that this character ages in Sponge years, so we're not sure how old he'll really be in these flashbacks, but we do know that his voice will be provided by Antonio Raul Corbo, who plays Nicolaj on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Hi, Jake. I love you. Nice to meet you, Mr. Hanukkah.
Bill Fagerbakke. Now that we've had a look at some of the younger cast members, let's move on to some classic voices from the original series. Where would SpongeBob be without the help of his trusty best friend, Patrick Starr?
Friends don't let friends go on dangerous quests alone!
Patrick is voiced by Bill Fagerbakke, who will be reprising the role for Sponge on the Run. In addition to his long-running voice acting gig, he's also known for playing Michael Dauber Dubinsky on the classic sitcom Coach. I may be unusually flummoxed. He's been portraying Patrick for over 2 decades and says he's grown attached to this particular sea star over the years. He's close with the rest of the cast, so reprising the role of Sponge on the Run was a no-brainer for Bill. Veronica Alicino. One of the many mysterious entries on the movie's IMDb page is Veronica Alicino, who's listed as an unknown voice. But what we do know about Veronica is that she's married to Tim Hill, who's worked behind the scenes as a writer on Spongebob Squarepants, as well as other films like Rocko's Modern Life and Kenny the Shark. As for Veronica herself, she's had a slew of roles, including Marie Mamaluke in The Mamaluke. We'll have to wait and see who she'll be in Sponge on the Run. Rodger Bumpass is another long-term denizen of Bikini Bottom, and you might recognize him as the voice of SpongeBob's grumpy neighbor, Squidward Tentacles. SpongeBob, what are you doing in here? According to Rodger, he loves the underwater world created by the late Steven Hillenburg and finds a lot of humor in it, unlike his character Squidward. When he first started voice acting in SpongeBob Squarepants, Squidward's voice was much more monotone. Rodger claims that after everyone discovered his ability to scream as Squidward, they made sure to make his character upset even more often. Clancy Brown. Not only does Clancy Brown have a long career as a voice actor, but he's been in some memorable movies as well. He was Byron Hadley in The Shawshank Redemption. 35,000, that's what he left me. And Kieran in Highlander. But in the underwater world of Bikini Bottom, he's Mr. Krabs. Well, usually. Some fans couldn't help but notice that our favorite money-grubbing crab sounded different in the games Spongebob Squarepants, Battle for Bikini Bottom, and Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. That's because Mr. Krabs was voiced by Joe White instead of Clancy Brown, a difference that loyal SpongeBob fans definitely noticed. But rest assured that Clancy will be back to reprise his famous role in Sponge on the Run. Mr. Lawrence. Give up world domination. Give up world domination? That's like giving up show business. Douglas Lawrence Osowski is better known as Mr. Lawrence, and he's been trying to steal the Krabby Patty formula for over 2 decades with no end in sight. Like many other cast members, he's also spent time working on Rocko's Modern Life, both as a writer and as the voice of Filbert. Not only is he the voice of Plankton, but he's also one of the writers behind SpongeBob Squarepants, which he says is a lot easier on the vocal cords than portraying Plankton.
Alright, I get it!
Jill Talley. And where would Plankton be without his wife, Karen Plankton? Look how cute a baby he is. Fun fact, the character is named after Steven Hillenburg's wife, Karen Hillenburg. And to make things even more interesting, the voice of Karen Plankton, Jill Talley, is married to Tom Kinney, the voice of SpongeBob. She's worked as Karen Plankton on the show, and now she's ready to take her role to the big screen. CAROLYN Lawrence. We have seen plenty of aquatic characters, but now let's celebrate our favorite undersea dwelling land mammal. Sandy Cheeks. Don't you dare take the name of Texas in vain. She's voiced by CAROLYN Lawrence, who's grown attached to the role over the years. She loves letting Sandy sing, even if CAROLYN insists she isn't very good at it. You might also recognize her as Cindy Vortex from the Jimmy Neutron franchise. Needless to say, CAROLYN is part of the core cast who will be returning for Sponge on the Run.
Faster than a barefoot jackrabbit on a hot, greasy griddle in the middle of August with
Mary Jo Catlett. Poor Mrs. Puff has been trying to teach SpongeBob how to operate a boat with no end in sight. Oh, SpongeBob, why? But behind the scenes, Mary Jo Catlett has been busier than most of us realize. In fact, she was discovered by Steven Hillenburg after he saw her performing on stage and decided she would be perfect for the part of Mrs. Puff. She's been in many theatrical productions, including Hello Dolly and Beauty and the Beast. Mary Jo enjoyed her transition to voice acting so much, she's stuck around for over 2 decades so far. Lori Allen. Hey girl, let's hang out. Since it seems like the whole cast is getting together for Sponge on the Run, Mr. Krabs' daughter, Pearl the Whale, will be there too. She's played by actress Lori Allen, who also plays Diane Simmons on Family Guy. He promised to introduce me to Dan Rather, but instead he introduced me to Danny Bonaducci, including films like Toy Story 3 and Inside Out, as well as shows like Futurama and Cow and Chicken.
I'm getting a job today!
Are you excited to see Sponge on the Run, even if it won't have a theatrical release? Let us know how you'll be streaming the movie in the comments section below. Don't forget to stay connected with us here at The Things by clicking on the subscribe button and turning on your notifications for more new videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.